The John Sterling Show.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You know, I made mention before that I've turned this into a conversation show. To me, it sounds so great all the time because the guest is so great. And I mentioned that I have a lot of friends. After all these years in the business, I've been on the air for 65 years. And they're all terrific. Well, I don't have a better friend than the guy who's coming up next. You know him from WFAN with all the myriad talk shows he did, and then from the Mets, all the pre and posts and all the play-by-play. His name is Ed Coleman. Hello, Ed.
Hello, John. How are you? Good to talk to you. Good to hear your voice on the air. Once again, as a matter of fact.
You can't get away from it. If you're on for 65 years, if you're wondering, Ed and I were on the air together in the beginning of 1980. 81, I think, was the year.
Yeah.
And we started a nationwide talk show called Enterprise. And we thought it was great. It was a wonderful time. 100 young guys and gals up in Connecticut and, you know, partying all the time and et cetera. And then what happened, Ed, they, as our good friend Shelley Adler of AP Sports would say, Enterprise Radio, the broke network.
That's exactly what it turned out to be. The now defunct sports network. It was kind of, you know, the Rasmussens were the people who founded ESPN, and they kind of wanted to have a radio network that went along with it about a year later. Unfortunately, the planning was a little bit off. Maybe the timing was a little bit off because, you know, ESPN Radio did come along, 4 or 5 years later, something like that. So, but we were, I guess, ahead of our time, John, and the money ran out, as they say.
Very quickly. You know, I mean, really, 6-8 months. It was. I think we just had bad timing.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
In fact, it was Eddie. I was doing the Hawks, and we were in. Doesn't matter where we were, but I got a phone call from a guy next to Jeff Smulyan, and he said to me, "What did you think? What would you think?" It's like picking my brain. What would you think of us buying a station and turning it into an all-sports station, blah, 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 blah? And I said, I honestly, I think it's a great idea. When I was at Enterprise, we had calls from all over the country, and really enjoyed it. I think if you do that, it will work. And now they didn't do it because I said that, but they bought WHN and then exchanged it for WNBC, which is now FAN, and had, just like ABC, 50,000 watts, clear channel, non-directional, and they had themselves a big time station. You ever think about Enterprise? Do you every now and then miss it?
You know, it's kind of funny. I mean, we worked with a lot of great people there, John, and you know, I see Sean McDonough occasionally, and Sean was an intern at Enterprise. And, you know, one of the great broadcasters today, Kevin Harlan, was there as well. He was an intern. You know, again, we worked with so many great people there, and we did have a great time. There was no question in the heart of Connecticut.
You know, the odd thing is the work, the product was terrific.
Yeah.
I was doing the Washington Bullets, still the Bullets, on TV, and so when I would leave, I would take that guy's shift when I came back, and very often they were all night. And I thought it was fabulous. You do a show and do the sports, and you had tape on every game. So they spent the money, then they ran out of the money. But anyway, it was good for you, too, because it led me to Atlanta, and it led you to FAN and the Mets. When you went there, what did you think of it? Did you think this is going to be a thing?
You know, it was interesting, Joe. You mentioned, you know, John Shannon was our boss at Enterprise, and eventually He was the head, or he was the first head anyway, at FAN when that was founded. And I had, you went to Atlanta, I went back to Boston, and worked at WBZ up there where I had worked before. Went back to the same place, and it was 1987 at some point, I don't know, maybe March or so, and I get a phone call from John Shannon. And he says exactly what you were saying before. We've got an all-sports station here in New York. We're going to do this. And, I thought about it for a day, and I called him back, and I said, it worked out so well the first time, John. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
That is your humor.
Oh, God.
Shannon really was something. He was very loyal. He took a lot of people down to FAN from Enterprise. Mm-hmm. Anyway, those things, they start and then they kind of leaven out. And obviously it's worked because that was 88 or 87. No, 87.
87, yeah. Uh-huh.
Eddie, I did a talk show for FAN in the summer because the guy who was doing the show had a heart attack or something, and they had different people fill in. And this was the All-Star break. And I came up from Atlanta. They put me in a great hotel. And so I did this talk show, Afternoon Drive, let's say. Oh, it was Afternoon Drive. And who was my update girl? Susan Waldman.
Ah, there you go.
And that's where we got to be friends. Forget about being on the air all those years later. We were friends starting, and it was 1987. You're right about the date. Yeah. Well, you broadcast a whole lot of Mets, and you went through, I'd say some tough years. And then Mr. Cohen bought the team, and that's the end of the tough days.
Yeah, I would say.
Did you think the Mets team was going to be as good as they are? And they were really good.
They are really good this year, John. Yeah, they've surprised me, I guess, a little bit, simply because when you looked at the pitching staff, you weren't quite sure.
Right.
They don't have the huge names. They don't have Garrett Cole. I know is hurt this year, but they used to have DeGrom. He's now in Texas. But you know what they have? They have pitching depth, and they've gone about things a little bit different. They certainly went out and spent money for Juan Soto in the off season, and Alonso is having just an incredible year.
Fabulous.
To sign the contract he did and have an out and have the kind of year that he's having, I don't think anyone is in a better place at this point in time than Pete Alonso. He's it's been fabulous. Soto's bat is heating up a little bit, and I think they have. I believe they have the best home record in all of baseball at 27-8 at home. They really established a real home field advantage, so to speak, which they haven't in past years at Citi Field, which is a great place to play. Their run differential is, I think, third best behind the Yankees and Cubs. They have guys coming back too. Sean Manaea is coming back, who was a terrific pitcher for them. They have Frankie Montas, who he's had an up and down career, but it's another healthy arm coming back. Clay Holmes very well too. He's pitched well for them. So they have a lot of depth, and that's one way you can go about it. If you don't have the ace, if you have enough people that can get the job done and you can score some runs, well, they've managed to package that together and have just a tremendous year so far.
Well, the pitchers themselves, David Peterson and Griffin Canning, and you mentioned Clay Holmes. Senga's a terrific pitcher. He's now hurt. But with the hitting they have Lindor and Soto and Alonso, but then the other guys all provide. That's true of the Yankees, too. They have a bunch of young people who are contributing. We know they've got Judge, and they have the two starting pitchers who are so fabulous, and Max Fried and Rodon. So I'm going to ask you some things about the American League as well as the National League with Ed Coleman, and we will return. Ed, you're going to stay with us, right?
Yes, absolutely. Wouldn't go anywhere.
Okay. I don't want to have to call the heavy people in. So we'll continue with Ed and have more after we pay some bills at 77. WABC. We are talking with our buddy Ed Coleman, who for so many years did Mets games and FAN talk shows and pre and post. You know what I thought of, Ed, coming in? I know I was going to talk about the Mets with you. You don't want to be wrong, and there are 100 games left. But you know what? This may be the Mets year. Kind of like, I thought of when the Yankees in 1998, when they couldn't lose. They almost couldn't lose games. I think the Mets are that good. And the thing is that Atlanta got off to a bad start, and they're well under 500. And the Phillies, in other words, could this just be the Mets year that won't be any angst?
It could be, John. It's interesting. One guy that I wanted to mention that I hadn't was David Stearns, the GM. I think he's done a great job, putting this team together. I like his approach. Let's put it that way, because especially with the pitching, which we were talking about, simply because it's great to go out and get that ace and pay a lot of money to have that guy for a number of years, but at the same time, I think we're seeing that with Garrett Cole this year. Hey, something like Tommy John pops up, okay, and you lose a guy for a year and a half. When you have a lot of depth of maybe lowercase or certainly somewhat lowercase guys, that depth can do a lot of damage. And I think it has done good damage for them this year. So I think I like Stearns' approach and how he's done it. But, and I think we see this so often in sports too. When you almost get to the threshold, which the Mets kind of did last year, they got to, the final game of the NL or the final series in the NLCS, and the Dodgers beat them before they went to the World Series and played the Yankees. But oftentimes when you get to that point, sometimes you take a step back the next year. They don't seem to have taken a step back, so maybe it is their year. It's very possible they can take that step forward and be there. It might be.
Well, when you look at them, and I'm happy to say in my quote-unquote retirement, I watch every game. Not every baseball game, but every baseball game, hockey match, basketball, and I can't wait for football to start. So, but I guess my point is, I really think the Mets are good. I mean, people, especially in New York, people are always ready to knock. But I just think they're good. I see their pitching. I know they're not big names, but their pitching is so good. And as far as offense is concerned, they have a terrific offensive team. Yeah, I actually think it's going to be their year. And it very well could be. I guess the one thing, this to me has always been kind of a fault of this team in the past. It was in 2015 when they went to the World Series against Kansas City. Their infield defense sometimes, befalls them, and it's happened a couple of times this year too. Maybe not as solid as you'd like to be in that situation. Do they have to shore it up a little bit? Maybe. It's possible, and we'll see what they do, trading deadline wise. But they have a lot of pieces. There's no question about that. And I think they have pitching. They have a good bullpen as well, and they have a terrific closer. So we'll see. But I guess if I had to point to anything that might be a downfall or might be a problem for them, it would be infield defense. But we'll see. Yeah, they do have one really great infield defender in Lindor.
No question.
He's as good a ball player as there is, by the way. Kind of what I say about Jalen Brunson. He's great. He's great, and no one can stop him. But baseball is easier. Basketball is a team game, and maybe they're hurt because Brunson always has the ball. He's great stamina. He has the ball for the whole game. One guy I'd like to mention, give a little plug to, because I really like him, and I think he's doing a great job, and that is Carlos Mendoza. Mendy maybe found something with Aaron Boone. He mixes his team around. He gets guys in there so they're not just sitting on the bench for a long time.
You're right, John. I think he's done a fabulous job with this team, and resting guys when he can and should, and also, inserting guys into the lineup. I think when, they need a lift, either the team needs a lift or that person needs a lift. The other thing that Mets people have told me about many, and listen, you know this with the Mets, they always, when problems came up or there was a sticky point, they always seem to make a story last more than it should, 2 or 3 days at a time because of excuses or saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. When Mendy came, that ended. Several Met people have told me that, over this year and last year as well, too. He shoots straight. He tells you exactly what it is. He's not going to make excuses. He's not going to lie. He's not going to, try to tell a story or fabricate something or, do an end around. I admire that about a person. And I think, his players can see that, obviously, and they like playing for him. And I certainly think that shows through, too.
One of the things I have laughed the most about, and I know you've followed it, is the Aaron Rodgers cycle. Well, one time Aaron Rodgers said, it wasn't untrue, but it said, the thing with the Jets, we've got to cut out all the outside noise. But he didn't say, I'm the outside noise. I'm
the cause of most of it, yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, they did, and he's now in Pittsburgh, so he's their problem at this point, I guess. Yeah.
And that's he's the only coach/manager who will knock his players. The others may be tough, but they don't knock. Aaron Boone never knocks a player. I don't think Mendy does.
No.
Thibodeau never knocked a player. I think that's part of the garden, though. I think they don't allow him to do that. But anyway, in this way, that the game has changed so much, and I guess it has changed more in pitching than in anything else.
In baseball, yeah, no, I think it has. I mean, it's listen, it's different. When you see a complete game these days, you almost gasp. It's rare. And there were a couple recently. I think in the past week there were 2 complete games. I said, "What's going on? What's happening here?" The kid Abbott in Cincinnati threw one. Somebody else just threw one the other day too. And you'd love to see pitchers go deeper into games. Pitch at least 7 innings, all the time, and maybe more. But hey, that's the way of the world. You start going to matchups third time around the lineup. You know the deal, John.
Yes.
It drives you crazy. Yeah. It drives you crazy, to watch it because you think back. But listen, a lot of things have changed too. I think. Listen, we both love basketball. I know that we've played it a lot in our lives in our younger days. But the game that we watch these days is very different from the game that you and I played and you and I watched as we were growing up. Very much different.
And broadcast. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've seen games this year where Team A has a 20-point lead. I'll tell you one game in particular. They have a 20-point lead entering the fourth quarter. This game was Oklahoma City against Minnesota. This is during the season.
Mm-hmm.
And when they got to the fourth quarter, Chris Jenkins, do I have the right name? No, that's Taylor Jenkins. Chris Finch, the Minnesota coach.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm.
He said Shea is not going to go through us, over us, and around us. And he went and double-teamed Shea at the out on the court, not waiting for him to put the ball down and all that. They just had 2 players play him. So Minnesota had the advantage, and they whipped the ball around. Everyone's behind the 3-point line, and they took open jump shots.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they also did? They missed open jump shots. And Minnesota came back and tied the game, and then the Timberwolves won it in overtime. And, that you see, I think that's why the Celtics lost 2 games at home to the Knicks.
You're absolutely right. It's interesting. I mean, to me, they were a slave to analytics. The Celtics, they never deviated from their game plan. I mean, think about this, John. You have a 20-point lead in a game. Probably the only way you can shoot yourself out of it is to keep shooting threes and missing them, which is with what they did. I think in the third quarter of either game 1 or game 2, I can't remember, but they missed 19 of 23 threes.
No, it's terrible. And, I'm looking at the set and saying, go for 2, get inside, go to the hole.
Go to the line. Yeah.
Yes.
And I know.
And, if you have a lead and you kept getting 2-pointers, even if they're coming down getting 3, they're not going to get 3 every time. Right. They don't make up enough ground.
You're not going to catch up. You're absolutely right. It's interesting. I was remarking to somebody that I was watching a game with the other day about T.J. McConnell,
who's terrific.
He was a terrific player. I love watching him. But it's interesting. Not a great 3-point shooter, probably, but he's a guy with the way the game is now, where everybody stations themselves in the corners and out of the 3-point line. Here's a guy that just weaves circles around everybody, moving around until he finds somebody open.
I think he is great.
He's fun. He's fun to watch. Yeah,
he's like a little water bug out there, and exactly. And he can really handle the ball. So, as you say, he's dribbling around until someone moves and gets open.
Exactly. Kind of fun to watch in this day and age. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're tied at 2 apiece. And, this is going to sound so corny, but I really feel sorry for the team that's going to lose because they're both terrific teams. Indiana is a team game. It's a team game, and they play it as a team game. And OKC, obviously they begin with Shea, but I think I'll be sorry when one of them, and I guarantee this, one of them will lose.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, it's been fun to watch. It really has. I'm a big fan of Rick Carlisle because, listen, I grew up in Boston, and Rick Carlisle was a former Celtic. As a matter of fact, when Bird was with the Celtics, they were best friends. I think he's a terrific coach. And I don't know enough about the Oklahoma City coach to say he's a terrific coach, but I think he is. He's done a terrific job with that team. And I agree with you. It's tough. I hope it goes 7 games, and comes down to the end. It seems like every game comes down to the end. It's been terrific to watch. It really has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, because they both play so hard. I thought when Indiana took a 2-1 lead, I thought their defense was they were getting in your shirt. They were getting in their shirt, and we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Ed made a point before that we both played a lot of basketball. There were times in my life I played every single day. I don't have the time to go into why. And Ed Coleman, he was a great jump shooter. Very much like Anunoby in the corner, jump shooter out of the corner.
I think those days have passed me by, John, simply from the fact that there's no jump in my shoot anymore.
Right, I do push-shots too. Eddie, thank you, and I can't wait for you to come on again. So before you leave, you have to promise you'll come on again.
Absolutely. Anytime, John, you know that. Love you. Great to hear you again, and all the best.
Thank you, Eddie. We have to run. Remember, Jonas Jackson, Eric Williams, and Rich Rattabali, and I'll see you next Saturday at 4 in the afternoon. This is John Sterling. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to The John Sterling Show. You can hear The John Sterling Show Saturdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?